Welcome to the Breakthrough and Conquered podcast, the show where we'll break free of old patterns and generation curses that have held us back for far too long. I'm your host, Claudia Garcia, and in this space, you will gain the tools and the resources to help you create a life-changing transformation. Together, we'll learn to think, act, and become the top 1%, how to conquer limited beliefs, boost productivity, but mainly to know exactly what it takes for you to live out your dream life. All right, I have a very special guest. I am showing you a little bit of my world of even one of my own mentors who truly inspired me. She was able to start this business of high-ticket affiliate marketing and able to retire her husband within months of starting. Because of that, she was able to travel to 50 different countries and more. It's probably closer to 100 if I ask her. In her business, she's also been able to make over $3 million in sales. However, what's really amazing is the way that she's been able to transform so many women's lives, including mine, and truly teaching us that it can look as good as it feels. So on top of that, she became a first-time mom and truly doing it all. So please help me welcome Ashley Krooks.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. I'm so honored for you to be here. So I definitely want to go into your story a little bit more because all of this that you have achieved was because you got fired from your job, which is just such a crazy pivot moment. Can you kind of talk about like that point of your life and why even look into a business after getting fired?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like just for so many people listening or in general, it's like we think the worst moments or the scariest moments of our life are so terrible, but oftentimes they're really leading us to something so much greater. Like they're really just pushing us in the way that we need to go, giving us that little love nudge. So for me, yeah, I had always worked in corporate America, and I knew though that I really wanted to travel the world and work from anywhere. But I didn't know how I was going to do it. If you've ever like been in corporate and if you leave corporate, it might mess up how you're climbing and you can't get to the next promotion or whatever it is. So I never really knew how that was going to work. But basically at my last job that I was at, I was, working this job that had an unlimited vacation policy. And, already while I was there, I wasn't super happy. The company culture had changed a lot and I felt really capped there in my potential, in my income. I didn't feel like they were really cared about me or fostered growth for me. And then my boss, so we had an unlimited vacation policy. I thought that I hit the jackpot. And it turns out that that wasn't actually the case. It was my parents' 30th anniversary and they booked a trip to South Africa, this once in a lifetime trip for my family. And I asked my boss if I could go on this trip, and he waited until literally 2 days before the trip. So after everything was paid for, everything was all set, I was planning on going, and he basically told me that if I went on this trip that I would be fired. And so I was in shock. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And basically at that moment, I knew that I couldn't stay at that job because after they were willing to just let me go like that and really just, I wasn't even that happy there. And for them to just be willing again to show me how replaceable I was, I knew that I couldn't stay. And so for me, I left the job, went on that trip. And then basically really the only choice at that point was for me to start a business because I looked at my options, and one, I had always known that the corporate world wasn't really for me. I never had a lot of success there. I felt like literally every job I had, I pretty much got laid off from. And I didn't feel like it was stretching my potential. And I knew I wanted more freedom. I hated asking for time off or for permission. I felt like I wasn't even in control of my life. And so I knew I didn't want to go back to corporate. Plus, I also knew how it sounded saying, oh, I just got fired for taking a vacation and now I want another job. I didn't really think that was going to go over so well. So basically I was like, all right, this is my chance. Now it's time for me to actually pave this path for myself and for me to start a business. And so, it was really when one door closes, another one opens. And this just really pushed me on the path that I knew I always wanted. I didn't exactly know how to make it happen.
Yeah, that's really honestly, that's always so crazy because I feel like some of the most successful entrepreneurs are the ones who can't keep jobs or just know that they're just meant for more. And that's why they can't keep the jobs. They're not willing to settle. And good for you for still going to what the values of you is. I don't think I would ever miss that moment with my own family. So it really is a redirection of like something that's more aligned to you. And I think that's what people don't realize is like if you just continue making choices that are your values, I feel like the universe is just going to keep giving you opportunities that prove that. And then lo and behold, this business kind of like landed on your lap. So when this business landed on your lap, like what made you feel like, okay, this is for me?
Yeah. So I had looked into a lot of different businesses. I had tried, web development, social media management. I looked into real estate investing. I even became a yoga instructor to try to do that, like a lot of different things. And this was back in 2017. So before online was insanely popular like it is today. And, everything that I was looking into had barriers in some way. Like I wanted a specific type of lifestyle. And I knew, like I had shared, I wanted to travel the world and work from anywhere. So I really needed the freedom to be on my own time zone, whatever that was, and I wanted to support my future family and to be able to have a lot of automation in that. So again, I could fully live my life. I wasn't really tied to specific boundaries in a sense. And I wanted to be able to really feel like I was impacting people and purposeful. And as I started looking at these other businesses that I mentioned, none of them really checked all of those boxes until finding this business and really finding that, high ticket affiliate marketing and what we do today, because it actually gave me like the roadmap for everything that I wanted. I saw so clearly how it was possible to build this business that would actually support my life, not the other way around. I feel like a lot of people go into business like, okay, let me just try to find something or, whatever they think of in the moment. But for me, it was really like, okay, what is a lifestyle that I want to create and what business is going to support me in getting there? And this one really checked all of those boxes. And so, seeing the compensation plan and seeing the products and just the way to build the business, everything. And so I was like, all right, this is it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense because a quote that I recently wrote is like you shouldn't get a job that like doesn't support your lifestyle. That's where misery is going to always happen and you're going to feel stuck. So because you kind of knowing a little bit of your achievements like early on, you were actually seeing a lot of results really quickly. Like what were the pros of that? Because I know you said you were dabbling into things. You even dabbled into real estate. And what were the pros of like you seeing this business pay off so quickly? But also, what were the cons of that? Because a lot of people want to see fast success, but they sometimes don't realize what that entails.
Yeah. So the pros I'll go into first. So basically, a bit about my story is, yeah, I hit the ground running really fast in the beginning. And, I was watching every training I could, taking a bunch of notes, learning all these different skill sets and really implementing everything. I always saw myself as a hard worker. I just wanted something I'd really be compensated for. And so I was like, all right, this is it. And with that, I saw really quick results. My third month, I made 3K, then 8K, 12K, 15K, and it just grew from there. And it was really amazing. And, even within a year, we were able to, within 2 months, make more than my husband and I had made combined in our corporate jobs in the span of a full year. And we put all of our stuff in storage and left to go travel the world, like within 1 year of starting. So it was really, really amazing to have these results. And I think even just to give people a comparison, like we were also trying real estate, like Claudia mentioned, and we found this house that we had to flip or that we could flip. We were trying to do real estate investing. I was like hustling, knocking on doors, giving out flyers everywhere. And we ended up finding this house. And in order to flip it, they told us like, okay, you could buy this house, but it's going to cost around 600 grand. Plus you need to flip it. So you need contractors, plumbers, everything else that goes with it, designers, all these things. So you're going to have to get a loan for basically $1 million. And it will take minimum 6 months. And you'll maybe make about 20K if you're lucky. And me and my husband like look at each other and we're like, what? This was about like 4 or 5 months into our business. And we had already made like 15K from the couch in our pajamas in a month. So we're like, all right, this doesn't add up at all. People say the money's in real estate, but maybe that was before actually online became like a huge thing. And so we're like, okay, here is where the potential is, and really went all in that. And, there were so many pros, right? Our whole lifestyle was able to change. We were able to actually live the dream life that we had, wanted only a year ago, and really be able to impact people and create that foundation of financial well-being for our family as well. And the cons of that too, people want, right? They want, like you said, that quick success. They want something to happen, but you don't always realize what comes with that and if you're really ready to handle it. And I know for myself at the time there, it just felt, I started to feel a lot of pressure in it, a pressure to constantly keep up with this pace, to perform in a certain way, pressure over, right, leading a big group of people and really what that entailed as well. While I was, right, learning the whole ropes of the business too. And also it was just a lot to balance, right? For me to really navigate and again, constantly chasing, right? That next step and then that next step and then that next step because I knew that I could do it too versus being able to really let it land and enjoy. So it was almost like, I think of it a little bit as trial by fire. A lot of people want the fast results, but they don't realize is that as they get each result, it's going to initiate them into another level of themselves. And so when it's happening so fast, it's like all these things happen at once and it can give you really quick growth, which is great, but you got to be, growth isn't easy. Growth requires a lot of you. And so actually there are benefits, I do believe, in going at it's a pace that your nervous system can handle, right? And really trusting that your own path is for you and is exactly what you're meant for and really expanding that capacity as you're growing. So you're becoming that version of you that can handle all the success that you're desiring. And then when you do get it, you can really hold it as well. So do you think, right, there's positives to both sides of the coin as well, for sure.
No, and I think you said that really beautifully because people want this quick success. And even I remember in my own journey, I remember being like seeing yours, like seeing what's possible. Because I will say your results are not typical in the business, but a lot of people don't realize, but that's what's possible. Like you can't, if you are a go-getter, you're a hard worker, you really go after and you put the foot on the gas, like that is what's possible for you to see quick success because you went full out. However, I remember even in my own journey thinking like, man, why am I not seeing as fast? But the positive side that I would actually do the flip on my brain was I just had a baby. I'm getting to be present and building this, And it really is everybody's journey is so different and it's in the perfect timing of their own. And so that was my positive for me that it's going to happen. It's just going to happen at a different time rate. So you mentioned about the pressure that you were feeling as you were growing so fast. Is that why you started working into more like somatic work or like how did you handle all of that pressure and deal with it?
Totally. So yeah, first I do just want to add too, because I was going to bring up something similar to what you just said. So I love that is like, I was also at a stage in my life where I could just like hustle and like really work on, just focus completely on the business. And that became my priority over all else. So that contributed right to my results. But now I have a baby. And like what you said is like, right, having a baby, like really look at where you're at in life and what is the amount that you actually want to take on, what really actually works for your life. And if you're working, I wasn't working, right? If you're working a full-time job, like what's realistic and how can you fit that in? And I like to talk a lot about sustainable success, like what is actually sustainable for the lifestyle that you have currently and for what your own goals are, and really making sure that you stay true to that versus just what you see someone else doing as well. And so that can be really, really supportive. But to answer your question, yeah, so for me, I pretty much achieved like everything that I ever wanted within like a year. And at that point, I didn't really know what to do. It was like I had all this success. I was traveling the world and I couldn't really let it land. I knew how to keep achieving, but I didn't actually know how to slow down and receive it. And I just wanted to feel good. I was like, I have all the success. I should feel differently, and kind of kept shaming myself in that. And so that really sent me onto this deep spiritual and personal development journey. And along the way in that, to really create a life that feels as good as it looks. And so through that, eventually I got led into somatics and nervous system regulation and subconscious reprogramming, identity work, other pieces there to just really be able to actually hold the success that I created and to be able to reconnect with, not just my mind and the do, but to really reconnect with my body and who I am at my core and really access, I had so much external freedom, but I didn't feel free inside at all. And so to really be able to access that internal freedom as well.
Yeah. And so all the tools that you just listed, like, can you kind of explain what they mean for like anybody who's like, I've never heard of this before, to kind of like dive in like in how it works?
Totally. So Yeah, it's like where to begin.
Yeah,
um,
definitely. I think you said somatic first, so it's
right. Yeah. So somatic specifically is really right is really the body. So it's just relating to the body and working with your body. Our body holds so much wisdom, and so many of us are so disconnected from it. Our society really, we keep people in their heads, right? It's constant school, constant achievement. When we even think about our business and what we want, it's all, okay, how do I get these results? What's this mathematical way and whatnot? But our body, it really holds like what's actually possible for us. And so, there's this amazing book, Your Body Keeps the Score. And it really does. Because if something happened to us when we were a kid, or, some experience we had, it gets stored in the body. And until we actually process the emotions in the body or the trauma that's stuck there, it's unconsciously going to be controlling our lives. And we're going to start to see that show up in a lot of ways. So, for example, one way you could see this is if you're feeling really excited to go on a live and you're like, all right, I got this, I'm ready. But then all of a sudden you start getting really nervous and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not going to do this. And your whole body kind of starts to sweat. That's actually telling you, oh, there's something else here, because what we think consciously and subconsciously doesn't match. And so our body will tell us, it's such a good communicator for really how we're actually feeling and just what our mind tries to maybe override or thinks. And I know for me, like listening to the body is such a big piece. A lot on my way to success, I wasn't really listening to it. I was just pushing, pushing, pushing. But the body it really gives us signals to let us know like where we're at and what's possible for us. And so relief in the body is so powerful, and just connecting to the body, yeah, is transformational. And so that's somatics and subconscious reprogramming. There's a lot of different tools that you could utilize for this, but we have our conscious mind and then our subconscious mind, and our subconscious controls like 85 to 90% of our lives. And so there's a lot of power when we can actually reprogram our subconscious and work with our subconscious to see how we're actually feeling about something, not just how we consciously think that we are. And we can shift a lot of beliefs and identity pieces and just ways we react to things through that as well. And then nervous system regulation is really working with our nervous systems, which are in our bodies. And our nervous system dictates so much of our lives. We can really only have in our lives what our nervous system feels safe with, and our external world mirrors what our nervous system is. So it's how how two people, for example, can feel completely different about the same situation. It's because their nervous systems are reacting differently towards it, and we attract a lot of situations in our lives because of our nervous system. So when we start to actually regulate it, which just means that we have the capacity to kind of oscillate more and come back to center, we can start to gain more, ultimately really more control in a sense of our lives and of what's possible for us, and really start to feel so much better, and like we can really hold a lot more
Yeah.
as well.
No, and I think it's literally you were one of the first people like that introduced that type of work to me. And then after that, I became so addicted to it because I think that's like the business really is 80% mindset, 20% skill. The business itself is super simple. If anybody can actually do it. But this is the work that I do feel like is the breakthrough work, because we're the ones getting in our own way. That's why some people are millionaires and depressed, because yes, they have all the money and the things of the world, but if their inner world doesn't really reflect that, they don't even get to enjoy it. So I think even in my own, that I've been doing very similar things, was definitely working with you and really learning how to go into my body. The subconscious and conscious was so huge for me to realize how much my subconscious runs the show. I could be consciously always being like, I'm doing the work, I'm doing everything. Why is it not working? And it's because my subconscious is really running the show in the ways that I didn't even realize it was showing up for me. And nervous regulation to me was just another way of like also just emotional intelligence. And these last couple of years, I've increased so much of my emotional intelligence that I start to notice it really is a perspective of two people, and allowing yourself to, it's not get triggered. I feel like that's like the common misconception of like the healing work is like, I still feel angry. I still feel this. And I was like, no, you're allowed to feel it. It's just how quick am I able to turn back to a normal state
Mhm.
of mind? And yeah, that literally changed my whole world as well. And
Mhm.
is that why you kind of started like even diving into more of the somatic work for to help transform for other women?
Yes, yes, because I believe that this work is so, so important. And it really is like the underlying piece of everything, because ultimately we're taught that success or that the freedom or these lives that we want are through these external things and these pieces outside ourselves. But what we don't realize and what we're never told really is that it has to come from within, because we can have everything we ever wanted. And this was my experience, but if we can't actually slow down enough to receive it, if our system can't actually feel safe enough to enjoy it, then we're just never happy in it. And so it's just, we have these external pieces or these things we thought would, right? We chase things, or we want success, or we want these businesses or whatever it is because we think that they're going to make us feel a certain way. But ultimately, nothing can make us feel any way if we can't feel that within ourselves. And so really, this deeper work is what allows us to actually let all of these other pieces that we want to create, the more money, the more travel, the more like being with our families, it lets them actually land. Because, for example, in my own story, I created a life where I was able to really be in it and experience it. I was traveling the world, like living my dream. And, even if you think about now, like I have a baby, right? And I'm able to be with him every single day. But the thing is, it's one thing when you're just there. Like when I was traveling, I was able to I was in awesome spots and I was physically there. But mentally, I was a million miles away. Like I couldn't actually be present in the life that I created. So it was kind of like, what's the point? Like I thought about just running away from it. But now I have this amazing baby and I'm able to actually be there fully with him and not think about work, not stress, like actually be present because of all of this inner work that I've done. And so I believe that it's really this inner foundation and doing all of this internal work that actually makes the success and everything else that we want land. Because we can have it all, but if we can't actually enjoy it, or like it never feels like enough and we're constantly chasing, then what's the point? And so I think that coming back to these pieces, to the somatics and all of the other pieces are essential. And also I will say, because I'm sure there's people that are like, well, it's nice to have money regardless, blah, blah, blah. And yes, however, your nervous system will cap how much money you can actually make. And so this happened to me, for example. It was like I was doing absolutely amazing, but my nervous system couldn't hold it. So then I started to self-sabotage in different ways. I would feel overwhelmed, or I would freeze, or people please, or, different things, or like want to move away from it, whatever it was, burnout. There's all these things that your nervous system will do so that in unconscious, again, you don't know this consciously, so that you can't, this is why you might work so hard at something, but you're not seeing those results because your nervous system actually can't hold those results. So it's going to keep sabotaging it for you, or just, you're not going to see those results pan out until you work on your nervous system so that you can actually feel safe having those results and holding that money, or why you might make all that money, but then just spend it all because your nervous system doesn't know how to hold it. So this inner work is so, so key to all of those external pieces. So that's why, I believe that all of this is just so essential. And I'm so passionate about helping other women and other people really discover it and deepen it.
100%. You're dropping so many gems right now, mainly because this is why people, when they win the lottery, they just lose it all and their lives actually get worse. Because they don't know how to nervously take in so much at one time. Or even like, say, for example, I like talk to women, I ask them how much they're wanting to make every single month. So many people, I would probably say 90% of people lowball the number. So if making a lot of money can actually re-regulate your nervous system, and I think that's what's beautiful about this business, that it opened that door to learn, wow, it's not my hard work that's going to get like the money that I want to see. It's not the systems. It's really the regulation of like, how much am I willing to handle? Because there is a number that everybody can think of right now. If they got that number right now, it would make them feel some type of like tightness or nervousness. And that's how you know how you can actually learn to expand in so many different ways. It's even, I believe, in love. For me, like I'm such a giver. And something that I'm currently doing right now is learning to receive the love. And life is perfect. Like life is exactly what I planned. Like we bought a house in Tulum. My relationship's the best it's ever been. Have beautiful family, beautiful home, like everything. And there was one day I was like, man, I was shaking about it. And I've never seen so loved, so seen. But I'm like wanting to self-sabotage because my subconscious, for a moment, I caught it, said, it's too easy right now. Something's going to happen. And I had to allow myself to be like, no, life gets to be easy. I can take this much on. And it was because I was such a people pleaser that I'm learning to receive all the love and take it all in and feel worthy of it. And it's just so crazy how, like, once you achieve it, you can self-sabotage it regardless of what it is. But it's the tools helps you be aware of it. And once you're aware of it, you can change it. So you mentioned a little bit about motherhood. And I think it's so fucking amazing that you did this before baby. Like, that's my biggest regret. It's like, I wish I started a business before baby, but to teach their own. Because you really did set you guys up for success to not just like financially, because obviously, like that's what your business provided, but like the somatic work, like you mentioned, allowed you to be present and actually, not pass down any maybe things that you for your son. So, how is it now balancing it all? Like, what are some of the challenges that you like realize, like, whoa, this is a complete 360? And either is it time? Is it emotional? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah. Well, motherhood and business is definitely not for the faint of heart. I think it's a lot to juggle, right? I think to any mom out there who's wanting to build a business or who is building a business, like you're an all-star. So really give yourself credit for that. I think for me, I think some of the biggest pieces are, like you said, I mean, feeling really, really grateful for the foundations that we built for not only financially that we have a lot of passive income coming in monthly, but also for my nervous system and all the internal work, like we just talked about that I did so I can really be present and really not get stressed of if like my baby needs me, and I can't do something at work or whatever it might be, and be able to actually be present has been so huge, and have the emotional maturity and intelligence, like all of it has contributed so much. But I think, yeah, in terms of like what I've noticed, it's a whole different switch. It's funny. We tell ourselves before, I told myself, and I know a lot of people do, like, oh, I don't have time. Like, how did I actually have time to do stuff? Or before I had kids, I'm like, what was I thinking? I had so much time. Like, I have no time now. And right, it's wild. And I think really what's been supportive for me is just recognizing, thinking about like, well, one, of course, right, my baby is the priority. And so really like, aligning with that in every way, and really figuring out like, okay, what are, we're working around nap times, or me and my husband were both home. And so we're navigating who watches him at different times, but just really noticing like, okay, what is actually important that gets done today? Like, what are the biggest, oftentimes when we think, oh, we have so much to do in our lives, a lot of times, like we're just keeping busy. We're not really doing the needle movers. And so, like I think you mentioned earlier, right? Like the 80-20 rule. And so with mindset, you talked about it. And so it's with everything in life. And so really looking at, okay, what's the 20% of things that are going to make the biggest difference in my business to move forward, and really focusing on those. And that can free up so much time, because it's like, okay, I'm doing the big things. I don't need to get all the small things done. If I have more time, great. But let me do like the main things that are important. And it's a whole new way, right, of time management when you have a kid and you have to, juggle with, with a business. But that's probably been one of my biggest things, is just allowing, like, just trusting and like kind of releasing the grip on it and the control on what needs to get done, and just being like, okay, well, these are the main things I'd love to get done today. These are the things that move like the needle the most. And so I'm going to aim to get these done, and then, trying to get them done. And then just seeing where the cards fall, and trusting if something doesn't get done, it will at some point, and it wasn't really meant to get done yet. And making sure that I set up this life so I could be a present parent to my baby. So really making sure that that's the priority, and that I'm doing that. And I think with motherhood and business, having that grace for yourself is so, so important, because it's not going to be like it was before, and you're not going to be able to get as much done as you want to at times, and just really having that grace. And one other thing, that I'll share is also, it's been a huge wake up call for me in terms of like perfectionism, and realizing where I was maybe spending too much time on things because I wanted them to look a certain way, or I wanted them to sound a certain way or whatnot. And because of that, at this point, things aren't getting done if I spend too much time there. So really help me like look at those filters and be like, okay, I need to like, more important that this just gets out. I need to do it so that it can get done. And then I can always, the next time do it better or whatever it is. But really, in order to be able to navigate both.
Yeah, no, I think I saw a quote is like, if you're building a business and raising little kids, you're equal as an Olympics player. Like, it is not for the faint, like you said. And I think you said something really important. It's like giving ourselves grace, because it is juggling a lot. It's allowing yourself to make the baby the priority, but building is still the priority as well. And I think it's so beautiful that I talk to so many women and moms such as you, that I tell them this is literally built in the pockets of your day. And I think that gives people so much comfort, because unfortunately, I don't know if I don't know, you probably didn't feel like this, because when I started this business, I just graduated college, got my math degree, became that teacher. And then 2 years after, that's when we had CJ. And I kind of was like, man, all that work to like be a mom, which is there's nothing wrong with it, but I just didn't realize how much it takes from you. So building that business on the side that allows you to be both was such a key motivator that I was like, I can still do something for myself and build something for my future and our future. But being that priority of a present mom was definitely like the number one. So I think that's really beautiful that you mentioned, like, give yourself grace, know what's really important, do the things that actually move the needle because a lot of it is just busy work. And then to me, I would be like, it's trust the process. Cause even I remember telling myself, if this takes me 5 years to do, to reach even the level, even 10 years, it's worth it. Because I saw it as like, Caleb will be 10 years old. And, like that is still so much more ahead of him being in college. There are so many pros of seeing it in the long term goal where I think motherhood focuses you really to be on the day to day. And it's so easy to lose focus of what's really important. And again, it's going to happen if you keep working at it. So what is, how is it balancing with your husband? Like that transition, because I really didn't talk about that, but I love to highlight that because I feel like for us is definitely a different dynamic thing. But like, what is something that you guys felt that shift of like, relationship and business partners, but then also learning maybe boundaries or things to kind of like balance it all together too?
Yeah. So it's definitely a whole nother dynamic to a relationship, as you know, right? Working with your partner. And we started this pretty early on in our relationship. I would say we started working together within the first like official year we were together. So we kind of, yeah, went right into it. But I think it is like, it's definitely right a lot to navigate. And I think you really need to have really strong boundaries because otherwise it can get so easy to just talk about work all the time or to have work be like that main thing. I know we used to go on dinner dates and I would just bring up the business and had to really, again, work on my nervous system and do the internal work to not want to do that all the time or feel compelled. But really setting great boundaries, I think, is important. And it's been cool to see in ways like your partner knows you more than anyone, right? So to really have them be able to be your biggest cheerleader because they understand like exactly what you're going through and to be able to be that sounding board, I think has been so helpful in that. And it's cool to see your partner in their strengths, especially if they're complementary strengths, meaning like they're different than your own strengths, but they really support yours. That's been really cool to have. And yeah, to work together in that way. I think it takes a certain type of couple to really be able to do it. I know certain people who have tried to work together, not in our business per se, but that have then decided not to because they didn't want to within their relationship. But I think that if you can navigate it with your partner, especially if you have common goals in the life that you want to create, it can be a really good thing to have. And as we were talking about before, like you mentioned with motherhood, it's so in the day to day and parenting, but having that long-term vision for yourself and to have your partner there to hold you accountable to that vision and to be there with you building it can be so, so supportive as a mom and just as a woman in general to, to know that you have like that man by your side supporting you and that accountability to even when it gets hard or when you're overwhelmed or whatever it is, to first have that grounding presence of your partner and then to also have them be like, all right, and get shit done. And we need to do this, which, can be really supportive towards your goals that you want to build for. And I think it's also pretty cool to, just have your kids see, well, one, you building towards like a better life because then you're telling them, right, go after your dreams, but you got to be living it too if you're going to be telling your kid that. So I think there's a lot of power in building a business as a mom and figuring that out. I mean, imagine everything you're instilling in them. For anyone listening who's like thinking about getting started with Claudia, but maybe hasn't because of that, like there's so much power in that and what that will do for your kid. And to be doing that with your partner and your child see that too, I think is really awesome and really, really powerful. Just like generational setup and whatnot, or however you want to call it, but like that you're showing them and the example that you get to set. And yeah, I think there's just a lot of really cool things about working with your partner. There's definitely a lot of challenges as well that can come up and to navigate, but there's a lot of beauty in it too.
No, for sure, for sure. And I do wholeheartedly believe that they don't do what we say, they do what we do. It's just like the littlest things. Now that CJ is like literally, I feel so blessed. I did mention earlier, I was like, oh, I wish I did this earlier, but I am very blessed that he actually got to see it from the beginning, like what this took in the midst of it all. And then now that me and JP do it together, he sees a team. He sees, mom's on a call, then he's with dad. And then if dad's on a call, he's with mom. And we get a lot of compliments too. Like they like how the dynamic of it. But even for us, I think it was definitely holding boundaries as well because it's so easy to talk about the business because we're so passionate about it. Like it's
Hmm.
become something that we love to do. And I think that's what makes us entrepreneurs is it's like we just always want to keep continue working in a way
Totally.
that it never stops.
Hmm.
So I remember those boundaries, but I think it's even helped us with our communication. Like we've learned that the way we communicate as like, husband and wife is completely different of how we communicate like business partners. And we had to set boundaries of like, okay, when we're husband and wife, we don't talk about business. When we're business partners, this is what it is. And we're not talking about the outside world and setting those type of boundaries as well. So if anybody is listening here and you can give old Ashley a piece of advice that you know now, like a version of you that, has all the tools, is that present mom who has literally achieved everything and felt safe doing it. Like, what would you tell that Ashley in the past that may needed to hear?
Yeah, I guess really that you have the power to change anything in your life and to create whatever it is that you're desiring. And more so, like what I mean by that is oftentimes we're told in our lives that we can't change or we just are this way or that we're, yeah, that like, or we believe that our parts and just these survival patterns are who we are, but it's not. And for me, one of the most powerful things was just recognizing that. Yeah, like that's not who I am and just really removing all of that conditioning to find my core self and like who I actually am and how I want to show up in this world. And we have a lot more control of our reality than we think we do. And we really are the creators of it. And so just like, and we're not victim to anything, right? There's so much more power that we have than we realize. And so, yeah, just realizing that and like knowing that just keep doing, like for my younger self, like keep doing what you're doing, like the work will pay off. You will start to feel so much better. And, sometimes I look back and I'm like, wow, like if I ever feel like, oh, I want things to move faster or like be a different way, I'm like, look at where you were. Like, 7 years ago or however long ago or even a year ago, like how much has shifted in you and who you've become, and it's so cool to see. So yeah, I think really just letting her know to like keep doing what she's doing and like trust that the more she keeps uncovering about herself, the really ultimately is more of the path to freedom.
Yeah. No, that was really beautifully said. I think someone says like, if you wanna make money, you get a job, but if you wanna make wealth, you transform yourself. And I think it's like you've truly learned how to do the wealth in so many different ways. You're rich in finance, but you're also rich in life. You're rich in your family, and that's what matters. And I think that's really beautiful. Well, where can people follow you if they want to, reach out to you, ask questions, maybe even do more somatic work because like you're definitely the queen of that.
Yes, I would love to support anyone in somatic work or any nervous system work. Could definitely reach out. And my Instagram is, you can see it at the bottom here, at Oh the Places Ash Goes. So I'd love for you to reach out to me there, or you can find me on Facebook as well, just with my name there, but Ashley Lynn Crooks too.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And if this episode sparked something inside of you, please like, share it, leave a nice comment, and maybe send it to somebody who maybe got fired from their own job and is looking for some type of inspiration. Or maybe somebody who has a deregulated nervous system and is really wanting to know different tools. Sharing is literally the most powerful thing you can do and hold somebody else accountable, and it shares how much you care about them. And if you're curious about the business that we've been talking about that truly has transformed both of our lives, retiring both of our husbands, traveling the world, and allowing us to be a present mom, you can definitely also check that out at www.claudiaconquers.com and really get the blueprint of how this is possible. So until next time, stay
I
unstoppable.
just want to chime in. Claudia is an amazing coach. So highly, highly recommend working with her if you've been thinking about the business. And yeah, definitely just reach out to her and and it will truly change your life.
Thank you. Thank you. I learn from the best. All right. Bye.